welcome to each one of you to Bhakti Shastri class. We are happy to have you all with us. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's begin the session by chanting our prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha Nama Om Vishnuparaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are going to start yet another new chapter today, chapter 6 of Bhagavad-gita, Dhyana Yoga. It is the last in the first section of the Bhagavad-gita. Whole Bhagavad-gita has 18 chapters, which can be divided into 3 parts. The first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, the last 6 chapters. In the first 6 chapters, they form a particular section, technically called Karma Yoga. So, in that section, chapter 6 talks about the stage to which a karma yogi evolves by sincere practice of karma yoga after passing to the stage of jnana yoga. By the time we complete this chapter, we'll also discuss something called as yoga ladder, which will give us the progressive journey of a yogi, starting from karma, going to jnana, then going to dhyana, and then later on proceeding towards bhakti yoga. So this chapter is again a very technical chapter. It talks about high levels of spiritual practices and high levels of spiritual realization. Because it's progressive, as we make progress in the chapters of Bhagavad-gita, we are going to get knowledge of higher levels only, right? So let's begin this chapter by chanting the Mangalacharan for Gita Sastri. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullaravindayat Patra Netre Yena Taya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Duhe Namaha. So, this chapter has total 47 verses, and the first 9 verses they talk about 2 stages of yoga: yoga ruksha and yoga rudha. Yoga Ruruksha means the beginning stage of yoga. And yoga rudha means the advanced stage of yoga. Arudha means to climb upon or to be seated upon. So yoga rudha means someone who has successfully climbed onto the practice of yoga, accepted yoga as the seat and has climbed onto it and achieved perfection. Let's read the verses or the chant the verses. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shansasi yachreya etayor ekam. Sorry. I am by mistake doing chapter 5. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. Shri Bhagavana uvacha anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriyaha. It begins with a very much similar theme, which was discussed in chapter 5. Krishna is clearing up Arjuna's doubts between renunciation of work and dutifully performing work. So it begins with the same note, but then it lands into the section of dhyana. Yam sanyasamiti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Arurukshor yogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva shamaha karanam uchyate. Yada hi nendriyartheshu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhastadochyate. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vardetatmaiva shatruvat. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tathamana apamanayoho. Jnana vijnana triptatma kutasto vichitendriyaha yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshasma kanchanaha. Suhrin mitrari udasina madhyastha dvesha bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Text 1. Reading the translation of text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life and is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire or performs no duty. So, here for the third time in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna the importance of not giving up one's work or duty. It's an important thing. That's why Krishna is repeating it to Arjuna. So, this section talks about Ashtanga Yoga. And Ashtanga Yoga generally means you go to a place of seclusion, you give up everything, your material life, material relationships, family, work, everything. And then you accept to life in seclusion and practice meditation. So Krishna wants to make clear in this chapter that renunciation should not be accepted by someone who is in the beginning stage of Ashtanga Yoga. who is just transferring himself or herself from Nishkam Karma Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga is a beginner in Ashtanga Yoga. And that person should not immediately renounce one's work. It is true at one stage when one is quite pure in heart and free from material desires, one can actually give up all kinds of work and then simply be situated in samadhi or trance. But then that stage is quite an evolved stage. Before that, one should not renounce work, because work leads to purification of heart. So we have already discussed this a lot many times before, why this is dangerous to renounce the work before one is supposed to. Someone please read this first paragraph of the purport. You can raise your hand if you like to read. Okay. Amrita Vilasini Mataji. You want to read? No.
Yes, I want to read.
Okay, read.
Purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for satisfactions, but for the satisfactions of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfactions of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi.
Thank you, Mata.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next verse. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kashana. What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desires for sense gratification. So here Krishna is giving us definitions of all these terms. What is yoga? What is sannyasa? What is tyaga? Right? And he says, if you understand these words in their most correct form, then they all mean the same, ultimately. So even if a person is not a sannyasi, externally speaking, but that person is a true yogi, then actually that person is also a sannyasi. May not be in the dress of a sannyasi. Similarly, if a person is a karma yogi, that person may be working as an ordinary person, but still that person is in knowledge, like a jnani. So Bhagavad-gita is teaching us to not look at the superficial things, but look at the internal motive and the attitude, and on that basis understand who is who, right? Not look at the externals. Okay, purport for this text. David Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Your Grace.
Hare Krishna.
Purport. Real sannyasi or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as a living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is continual, and when he is in Krishna consciousness or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is the real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one in the complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification and renounce all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who retrain the sense from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to. Please, can you go up, please?
Yes.
Yes, sense in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and the retraining the senses as prescribed in the jhana and yoga process is automatically serving Krishna consciousness. If one is enabled to give up all the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to sanctify the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the. Can you go up, please, Prabhu? Enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. So here now you see, because we are discussing about a higher level of yoga practice, Krishna is prescribing to Arjuna that not only he should renounce, or a yogi should renounce objects of sense gratification, but should also renounce desires of sense gratification. Now that's a higher level, right? At a lower level would be give up objects of sense gratification, but a higher level would be even give up the desires of sense gratification. When we say giving up objects of sense gratification, it means you don't bring the senses in contact with the sense objects. And when you say give up desires of sense gratification, which means you don't even allow the mind to dwell upon sense objects, right? Now, it's in some sense easier that you don't want to see something, you stop seeing that. You don't want to hear about something, you stop hearing that. You don't want to eat something, you stop eating that. But it's much more difficult to stop thinking about in the mind. Those thoughts keep on coming, even if you don't want them to come, right? They keep on coming to us. If not consciously, we do it unconsciously. So he's saying an advanced yogi would also then want to give up these desires on mental platform. Sannyas and yoga is that. That's the real definition of sannyas yoga. And then Krishna talks about the two stages of yoga, arurukshu and arudaha, two stages. We will discuss that a bit in detail. So let's look at the verse 3. Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarūlasya tasyaiva shamaha karanamujyate. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system means Ashtanga yoga because it has 8 stages. Work is said to be the means, and for one is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Cessation of all material activities means giving up all kinds of karma. Okay, that's the means. So it's a very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. We will discuss the purport through a diagram. Next verse. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanu sachate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rulas taduchyate. So that verse was talking about the beginning stage of yoga, yoga rurukshaha. This verse is talking about the advanced stage of yoga called yoga rulaha. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. Okay, so let's look at the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Anyone knows the Sanskrit terms for those 8 limbs? Can recall? What are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga? Any one limb you can recall, or any 2 you can put in the chat box. Okay, yes, Yama, Niyama, very good, Kurumai Prabhu. Yama, Niyama, okay, Dhyan, Dharana, Samadhi, fine. So you got 5, 3 more to go. Pratyaha, Pranayam.
Asana, Pranayam,
Yeah.
Samadhi, last
Okay.
is Samadhi, I think.
Fine, correct. So you got 8, right? Which are they? They are Yam, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. These 8 things are there, not just in Ashtanga Yoga, these 8 things are there in Bhakti Yoga also. All 8 things are there in Bhakti Yoga, all 8 stages are there in Bhakti Yoga as well. But then we don't discuss about it so much because that's not our process, systematic process in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. But in Ashtanga Yoga, they are very clearly explained and defined. So let's look at each one of them. And as you see in this diagram, the beginning stage is Yoga Ruruksha. That's the stage of doing Yama, Niyam, Asana, even Pranayama. Yoga Ruruksha means you are trying to ascend the path of yoga. And advanced stage Yoga Rula starts from which level? It starts after Dharana is completed and Dhyana has started. That's called Yoga Rula. That's the advanced stage. Even if you don't really relate with what we are discussing now, please try to understand. Because when you open Bhagavad-gita 5 years later, as a devotee, a practicing devotee, or as 10 years later, then these things will make more sense to you. Because at that time, the need of this subject will become more evident. Now it may not be. So I don't know how many of you plan to again do Bhakti Shastri. I don't know that. So if this is the last time you're doing Bhakti Shastri, better you study it well. So you understand, even if, let's say, you don't find it relevant, you try to technically understand, theoretically. So can someone, yes, we'll do the term explanation. So I would request you, if you know the definitions of these terms, starting from Yama, going to Samadhi, then you can raise your hand and try to define them. Okay, so let's start with Yama. Who knows Yama? Now there are 8, 9, 7 hands up. So are all these for Yama? Yes? Yeah, okay, fine. So let's start with Surekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Yama means the don'ts, which we should not do while in Bhakti Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga.
Very good. So that's the most precise, simple definition. Yama means things that you don't do, right? Regulations. That's called Yama. That's in all the kinds of systems of yoga. So for bhakti it might be different, for ashtanga it might be different. That's yama. Niyama. Harneet Mataji.
What we should do on a daily basis, Prabhuji.
Very good. So what we should do on a daily basis? It's like the practice. I've decided to follow this on daily basis. That's practice. Niyama, rules. So when we say for bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness as given by Srila Prabhupada in ISKCON, what is yama? Given by Srila Prabhupada. Prana, what is yama? Yes, Kavya Mataji. Kavita Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the 4 regulatory principles given
Very
by.
good. Yes, 4 regulatory principles. We are not supposed to do those, right? So that's yama. And what is niyama? Simple. What is the niyama?
Devotional service.
Yes, to be specific or
And
precise.
16 rounds.
Chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra daily. That's
Chanting,
niyama,
book
right?
reading.
Yeah, other things will also follow, correct? But as an instruction, what do we get? Basic. This is what, right? We are supposed to do daily without fail. Now, next is asana. So, who will define asana? Mahesh Prabhuji, you want to define asana?
And means in yoga, actually yoga postures are there. So
Okay.
in bhakti, maybe
No.
daily
Don't
kind
go
of.
to bhakti. First, when say asana is yoga posture, sitting posture. Why it is
Yes,
there?
please. Because they actually form the foundation of further stages, namely pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan,
How
dharana,
does
and
it?
samadhi.
Okay, how does it form the foundation for the other stages? Asana. How does
Because
it?
yes, in postures we have to concentrate on certain things, like we have to focus on things. Unless we concentrate on a thing, we cannot go to the other stages. So asanas are more important because
Concentration is not asana. Asana is sitting posture. Okay, now why sitting posture? So you would define in this way. Asana means you sit in a particular manner so that you are comfortable. You are not experiencing any pain in the body, so that you can meditate well. Right?
yes,
So asana means
correct.
a posture in which I'll not fall asleep, a posture in which I'm not uncomfortable, right? A posture in which, I'm not disturbed or anxious about something, right? So,
Your spinal cord should be
uh,
straight like that,
yeah,
sitting.
all that for facilitating better meditation. That's called asana.
Thank
Or in the yogis would define asana as that posture in which you can sit for long period of time without any bodily discomfort.
Yes.
So that you can enter into meditation properly. It's like giving you an example. If there is a short runway, the flight cannot take off, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
The runway has to
Yes.
be long enough for the flight to take off. Similarly, the posture should be in a way that I get sufficient time to take off before I start feeling the bodily discomfort. I have sufficient time to take off into yoga. Very good. Okay, next pranayam. So now those who have not answered, let me try asking them. Pranayam, Dr. Vinod Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, breathing exercises.
Yes, breathing exercises, right? So pranayam means breathing exercise. Breathing exercise, why we do pranayam, breathing exercise?
For concentration.
Yes, because when you do breathing exercise, it stabilizes the mind, right? It makes the mind stable, right? This is very easily experienced by any one of us. Anytime you see that you are too much into anxiety, trouble, your mind is racing up and down, just sit down in a place and take long breaths, calmly, release them, and you feel that you are quite then out of that
Calmness.
yeah, you're calm at that stage, right? So that's pranayam, very helpful. The next pratyahar, Navanidhi Mataji.
Withdrawing the senses from the sense objects.
Yes, very good. Very good. Yes. withdrawing the senses from sense objects. Pratyahar. You don't give the senses their ahar, their food. That's called pratyahar, right? So for eyes, the food is form, any form. For ears, the food is sound. So you don't give them their food. Why we don't give them their food?
For it to help in better sense control.
Why?
And so that our mind can concentrate better on
Very
the
good.
Lord.
Yeah, so that we don't get distracted, isn't it? Otherwise, there'll be distraction. So in order to stop that distraction, because now you're going to focus on something else, and if your senses are pulling you in other direction, you can't focus on that, isn't it? So you stop, you shut down yourself from the external world. Next is dharana. Who will define this? Dharana. Vandana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dharana is basically fixing the mind on the Lord's form so that we can meditate on Him and,
Okay, very good. Dharana. So if you say technically the meaning of the word dharana, dharan means to hold. So now using the mind, you are trying to hold something. It can be anything. For a devotee, it's the form of the Lord. For someone else, it may be something else, like it may be Brahman, it may be some concocted image or whatever it may be. But for devotees, that is the form of the Supreme Lord. So that's called dharana. You're trying to hold it into your mind. Just like if I give you an exercise now, try to focus on one thing for 10 seconds. That's called holding onto that thought, holding onto that object for 10 seconds, right? So when you try to do that, you will see mind doesn't stay there. It jumps from that to another, to another, to another, to another. So it requires practice for the mind to stay focused on one thing only. That's called holding onto it. So you do dharana, right? Now, if I'm trying to hold on to something and my eyes are open, my ears are open, what will happen? There are chances of distraction. So that's why we already did pratyahar before, shut down, so that there are less chances of distraction, right? But you don't shut it down completely, because if you shut down your eyes fully, you go to sleep. So then there is a process explained that you keep your eyes little open, don't shut down it fully, right? Okay. Then what is the next? Dhyana. What is meant by dhyana? Yes. Yes, Vinod Prabhu.
Prabhuji, meditation.
Fine, meditation. Can you link it with what we defined previous to this, dharana? How from dharana it will go to dhyana? What will, because dharana also means I hold on to that object in my mind, and then dhyana.
Withdrawing from all sense objects.
That's already done in pratyahar.
Okay.
So dhyana means, someone put it in the chat box. Yes, continuous holding of dharana. Dhyana means it's a prolonged meditation. That's called dhyana. Okay. Now, another way to understand simple is dharana is done with conscious efforts. Dhyana is which becomes spontaneous. Okay. That's called dhyana. It's spontaneous. You are not putting conscious efforts for that now. So it has become a habit. It has become a natural practice of yours. And then last is samadhi.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
we chant for like meditation, we chant. So that is not a conscious effort.
We chant. So that's conscious effort. Initial stage is conscious effort. I mean, at our stage, beginner stage, it's conscious effort. We are trying to chant, which means we are trying to listen to the holy name. We are trying to hear the holy name consciously. If we don't try to hear it consciously, we will not hear it, right? But then those who have become very experienced in chanting, as soon as they hear the name, their mind runs to that direction, right? For us, we have to pull our mind to that direction. It runs away from there. And for those who have spontaneous attraction, the mind will run to that direction, isn't it? And the last is samadhi. Samadhi, Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It's I feel this transcendence.
Yeah, it's called trance. Yeah, trance. Samadhi is trance, which means now you're totally into a different realm, spiritual realm. You're experiencing what is called spiritual energy, right? But samadhi is not the end. In samadhi also, then there are different stages. Like once one has entered into samadhi, it's just like you have entered into the city. Now within the city, you can go to the park, you can go to the restaurant, right? Isn't it? You can go to the hotel, you can go to someone's house. So samadhi means you have made the transition from material to spiritual. But the spiritual realm is huge. So now within samadhi also I can go further and further and further and further, right? So the lowest level of samadhi will be Brahman realization. I see bright light. Then the next would be I see the Lord sitting in my heart. That's the next level of samadhi. And the highest level of samadhi is that one will be able to see Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. That's the highest level of samadhi. All right, so the 8 things are clear. 8 terms are clear. Now, out of these 8, where there is physical effort, in which stages there are physical efforts? Out of these 8, in which stages there are physical efforts? Only 1, 2? Yes.
First 6 stages.
Okay, first 6, fine. All right. So actually physical efforts are there to stage number 4.
4, yeah, first 4.
First 4. Physical effort. After that, it's not physical then so much. Then it's more on the level of mind, isn't it? More on the level of mind. So till the time it's related. Till the time I have inclination towards work in this world, towards karma, I can only go up to stage number 4. I cannot go beyond that. I cannot. And only when I'll become purified of the tendency to work, karma, I can go to stage 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So a person who has not come to stage 5 and 6, forget, that person cannot take sannyas. Not possible. Cannot even think of giving up one's duties and responsibilities. Not yet ready for it. Why? Because the material modes will push that person towards work. Okay, so these let me share the slide again. So these 4 stages are called the launching pad. I'll take a question later, Satyadevda Prabhu. These 4 stages are like the launching pad. Like for a helicopter, there is a launching pad, isn't it? So similarly, for me to rise to a higher platform, which is the platform of yoga, these 4 stages act as the launching pad. I try to launch myself to the 5th stage, but because I am not practiced sufficiently, I'll fall. It will happen many times. I'll fall. And now we are talking about Ashtanga Yogi. We're not talking about Bhakti Yogi. We're talking about Ashtanga Yogi. I'll fall, right? So it needs days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months, years and years of practice to be able to perfectly come to Pratyahar. So Ashtanga Yoga, that's why it's time taking. It's like, trial and error. Trial and error. You tried many times and you don't succeed. You fail. So once then you have come to that stage of Pratyahar, that means now you are on the path. You have launched the helicopter into air. But that's not the goal. The next thing is the helicopter should move ahead. It doesn't have to just hang into the air, right? It has to move ahead. So Pratyahar and Dharana means I have launched my mind into a different realm. Now, moving ahead is the stage of dhyana and samadhi. So, sannyas can be taken at the end of dharana. That's what the scriptures say. We are talking about which sannyas? We are not talking about a Vaishnava taking sannyas. We are talking about the general sannyas, karma sannyas, right? Which means you renounce work duties and you live in seclusion, perform lots of austerities. That traditional sannyas. Fine. So this is how we understand the 8 stages, the 2 levels of yoga, their definitions, the interconnection, and when one can actually give up one's work. Why work can be given up or should be given at the advanced stage? Because work becomes then a distraction in meditation. So then work should be given up. Okay? But then work need not be given up forever. Once that person has reached samadhi and has perfected in samadhi, then that person can still continue to work now, but this work will not touch that person. Like chapter 5 said, that person will be like a lotus in mud. Then that work will not touch that person. Are you able to understand? Yes. Okay. So David Prabhu wants a question. Can you give the short means of the 8 words in English, please? Okay. Yama means regulations. Niyama means rules. Asana means sitting posture. Pranaya means breathing exercise. Pratyahar means withdrawing from sense objects. Dharana means holding on to the object of meditation. Dhyana means prolonged meditation. Samadhi means trance, being situated in spiritual realization. David Pro, is that okay? I hope you don't want me to type it. You can type it later. All right. So, someone has questions now. Salome Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just want to know, once one has reached samadhi, why would they want to go back and work? When you reach that stage, should you not then just achieve, go on your path to Krishna consciousness and stay there? Why would one?
When we say work in that stage, we are not talking about work like an ordinary person, but they work for the welfare of other people. Right? So it's not that they're working in a factory looking for a job. No, not that kind of work. They are working for others' benefit. Example, let's take the example of Srila Prabhupada working tirelessly to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Right? So he's situated in samadhi, and though he's situated in samadhi, he's still working tirelessly, going to the bank, isn't it? He would visit the banks, he would print books, go to the printer, so many things he would do. Fine. Okay, Mahesh, now till what stage yoga ruruksha? Yoga ruruksha is there till the stage 7, till the end of 6. Yoga ruruksha is there. Yoga rula means it begins after 6, from 7 onwards. That's called yoga rula. Yoga rule, as I said, one has already climbed onto the path of yoga. So you see, the first 4 stages are launching pad. Then the next 2 is you have ascended. Now the 7th is you are moving into that, moving ahead on that path. So that's called yoga rula. Satyadeva Prabhu, your question was, what does not work mean? I think we are already clear with that now. Yes, Maheshji. You have your hand up, Mahesh, or you want to say something?
No, same question. That's it. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Fine. So then we go to the next topic, which is again very interesting and important. Mind, friend or enemy. Okay, so Uddharet Atmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayed atmaiva atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Usha Mataji, please read the slide.
The purpose of the system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nescience. The material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attached by the glitter of the material nature. 6.5 purport.
It will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. Next verse. Okay. Say some exercise now. Fill in the blanks. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of which one? Bondage. Mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Now, this instruction is for whom? It's for everyone, but it is specifically for someone who is at the stage of pratyahar. Because that person is trying to become free from attachment to sense objects. Right? So this is specifically for that person. Okay. So for a person at a little higher level, why I'm emphasizing on that? Because when we study the scriptures, I always tell this. I take a course in Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education, how to study the scriptures. So there I tell the students this thing, that when you study the scriptures, don't think that every instruction in the scripture is for you at this stage of your life. Right? If you do so, you'll be totally confused and puzzled, right? Because there are instructions in the scriptures which are for beginners, kindergarten students, and there are instructions in the scriptures which are for undergraduate, postgraduate students, right? Now, if I'm a kindergarten student and I read an instruction which is for PG student, I am definitely going to get scared, isn't it? And then I'll close the book and say, I don't want to study this subject anymore, right? That's what happens with many people. They get so scared about spiritual life. Oh, it's going to be so difficult for me. Forget it. I would prefer to go to hell than go to Golok Vrindavan if it's going to be so difficult for me. Right? So people start thinking like that because they think everything that is there is for me right now. So we need to understand the scriptures talk about different levels of instructions for different people. Not thinking about sense objects is not possible for a beginner in Krishna consciousness. Not possible. So if I become frustrated about it, I'm going to only, actually make myself morose and, lose the hope that I can also do it someday. We should know this is an instruction for little advanced yogi, right? Isn't it? So at our stage, if we are getting disturbed by wrong thoughts, don't worry. Don't take it so seriously, right? It's anyway, we are not yet that advanced, so wrong thoughts will come. So you let them come and you don't think about that much. They will come and they will go, right? Isn't it? So we don't have to beat ourselves down with our shoes and slippers that why am I having these wrong thoughts? No, at our level, at our stage, it may happen. It will happen. I mean, I'm talking about those who are in lower stages of Krishna consciousness. For those who are at higher stages of Krishna consciousness, this should not happen. Then this becomes a kind of a danger signal to them. Right? Okay? So this is what we understand here. Next verse, 6.6. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana chitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So the purpose of actually yoga is to control the mind. That's the purpose of yoga. That's the only purpose of yoga, actually. That's the ultimate purpose of yoga. Other things are not real goals of yoga. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the acharyas, a great acharya, he has written a beautiful poem telling us about how those who are not Krishna conscious or trying to be Krishna conscious, they become slaves of their mind. And the mind conquers them, not that they conquer the mind. It's a beautiful poem. It has 22 stanzas. I'm not going to show all of them to you, just sharing the first 4. But later on, at your leisure time, you can go through the entire poem. Very beautiful poem written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's in English, so even if you don't understand Bengali, you will relish it. Alas, for those who spend their days in festive mirth and joy, the dazzling deadly liquid forms their hearts forever employ. Next verse. The shining bottles charm their eyes and draw their hearts' embrace. The slaves of wine can never rise from what we call disgrace. Was man intended to be a brute in work and heart? Should man, the lord of all around, from common sense depart? Man's glory is in common sense, dictating us the grace that man is made to live and love the beauteous heaven's embrace. This is the first stanza talking about the topic we are discussing now. The later on talk about then the transformation of this person and how a devotee enters into his life, and finally that person gets to embrace Krishna. So beautiful poem. Later on I can share in the WhatsApp group. You can go through on your own. Next question. Have I conquered my mind? How many of you say yes? No one? Anyone here? The bold one, the hero or the heroine? Yes, I have done it. No, not yet. Not yet. So we don't hold that trophy yet of conquering the mind. So if someone thinks, no, I have conquered the mind, so then the next verses talk about the symptoms of someone who has conquered. Next verses 7 to 9, they talk about those who have conquered. So this is, let me see, what's the time now? Okay, we do have time. We'll take a break after this exercise. So this is for your individual exercise, personal exercise, right? Find from verses 6.7, 8, 9, 3 verses, the symptoms of one who has controlled the mind. Okay, now to find these symptoms, you don't have to go to the purport, you just have to look at the Sanskrit and the translation. Pretty simple exercise. 3 verses, 7, 8, 9. Find all the symptoms of someone who has controlled the mind. It's an individual exercise. I request all of you to do on your own. And if possible, note it down in a paper or your notebook. We give you how much? Give you 3 minutes to do it. 3 verses, 3 minutes to do. You need not type it now here in the chat box. First you find it and then make the whole list first. There are many, not just one or two, there are many. And you have to only look at the translation of the Sanskrit, not the purport. Okay, so there are 9 qualities, just to help you as a hint. 9 of them. Not 9, sorry, 8, I'm sorry, 8 of them. 8 of them. Twenty seconds. I'm just giving you a practice of a final exam, you know, right? In that also you'll get questions and you'll have to find the answer. Of course, the books will be closed at that time. Okay, time up. So maybe one at a time. Yes, Pankaj Prabhu. One, you can give one symptom.
Conquered the mind.
Has conquered the mind. Okay. Antara Mataji.
Fully satisfied.
Fully satisfied. Very good. Navaniti Mataji.
Prashantasya, attain tranquility.
In tranquility. All right. Kavya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So inner peace.
Inner peace, which is from which Sanskrit?
That one I need to see.
So yeah, look at the Sanskrit. Okay, Achyutan Prabhu.
Prabhu, for such person, a man, happiness and distress, cold and heat, honor, dishonor, all are same.
Correct. Equal, right? In happiness, distress, honor, dishonor, heat and cold. Good. Yes, Hanit Mataji.
Equal vision.
Equal vision. All right. Rajat Prabhu.
Prabhu, it is equipoised. Sama.
Equipoised. Sama. Fine. Anything left? Done all? Or we are still left with something?
Senses controlled.
Senses controlled.
Reach the super soul.
Has met the super soul. Very good. Anything else left?
Satisfied with shastric knowledge and realization.
Correct.
Jnana,
Satisfied in
Vijnana.
Triptatma. Satisfied in, yeah. Look at the, if you look at the Sanskrit, you'll be able to exactly find it. If you just look at the English, then you may not be able to pinpoint it exactly, right? Okay, I think one more is left.
Prabhuji lives alone in a secluded place.
Lives alone in a secluded place? Is that there? No, I don't think it's there in the Sanskrit. Is
Self-controlled.
That's in the next sloka.
Kutastho. Done, attained Paramatma.
That is done. Yes. Okay. So if we are done all, thank you so much. There were 8. We are done 8. And
he regards all the honest well-wishers and everybody.
Correct.
as
Equal vision.
Equal vision.
Yes.
Pebbles, stones, and gold are all same for him.
Same. Correct. So this is what this table shows: the list of qualities, or simply Prashantasya, attain tranquility, Paramatma Samahitaha, which means completely approach the super soul, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkheshu Manapamanayoho, neutral to all dualities, heat and cold on physical platform, physical level, happiness and distress on mental level, honor and dishonor on the level of ego, equal in all these situations, neutral. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, satisfied in acquired knowledge and realization. Kutastha, situated in transcendence. Vijitendriyaha, sense control. Samaloshasma Kanchanaha, equal vision of pebbles, stones, or gold. And Suhrin Mitrari Udasina Madhyastha Dvesha Bandhushu Sadhushu Apicha Papeshu Samabuddhi Vishwanatha, equipoised to all people. Okay. Now, when you say equal vision, 6.8 talks about that, 6.9 also talks about that. But the equal vision mentioned in 6.9 is of a higher grade than the equal vision mentioned in 6.8. Why? Because 6.8 talks about objects. 6.9 talks about people, right? It's easy to see different objects with equal vision than to see different people with equal vision, right? Isn't it? So that's more difficult. So that person who has controlled the mind has these symptoms. Now, if I asked you that, when I asked you that question, have you conquered your mind? Out of humility, if you said, no, we did not. Or you didn't want to, tell others that, yes, I did. Then, and in your mind, you are thinking, yes, I have controlled the mind. So then please look at this list of symptoms and then check if it's there in you, these qualities, all these qualities. If it is there, then think about using a geyser in summer season and AC in winter season. Right? Neutral to all dualities. Then we can say, yes, I have conquered the mind, these 8 qualities. But then they are progressive. The last quality is the highest quality, equal vision of all kinds of people. All right. So lesson here. Mind can be easily controlled. This is from Srila Prabhupada. Mind can be easily controlled if we agree to admit some superior dictation and follow it. Right? So as long as we want to be the rulers of our mind, we will fail to rule over our mind. But when we allow the scriptures, the sadhus, or Krishna to rule over our mind, then our mind can get controlled. So we need to accept some superior dictation and follow it. Right? Superior dictation means accepting instructions of scriptures, sadhus, or guru, and Krishna. That's called superior dictation. And you follow that. In that way, I can control the mind. Otherwise, I cannot. And the superior dictation also comes from Paramatma. So in my life, the Paramatma will tell me, don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this, this is wrong, this is correct. And I need to listen to that voice if I want my mind to remain in my control. If I don't listen to that voice, then my mind will get crazy and it will become wild. Okay, fine. So the last slide for this section, and after that we give you a break. The 9 kinds of people mentioned in 6.9 are defined in this table. The 9 kinds of people. It said equal vision to all these kinds of people. So who are they? Suhrita means one who is by his or her very nature kind to people, right? That's that person's nature. It's not that, okay, that person likes some people, doesn't like some people, family members, friends. No, towards all, because that's that person's nature. That's called Suhrit. Okay. Mitra is one who acts beneficially for people out of affection. Means if I have affection towards someone, I'll act nice towards that person. That's called Mitra. Okay. Ari means enemy, causes misfortune. Udasin means one is neutral to 2 arguing parties, means he doesn't consider this as friend and that as enemy. Madhyastha, one who is neutral but is eager to stop a dispute. That's called Madhyastha. Dveshya, one who envies because that person wanted to injure me, so I envy that person. Bandhushu is one who benefits me out of family relationship. Oh, he's my brother, she's my sister, father, daughter, son, like that. Sadhushu, one who follows dharma, and Papeshu, one who does not follow dharma. So a person who has controlled the mind, approach the super soul, will be able to deal or will be able to see all these kinds of people with equal vision. Right? Equal vision. Okay, we give you a break now. Please take 3 minutes break and come back for this session. Hare Krishna. Welcome back, devotees. Next, we're going to start the section of verses 10 to 27. But for today, we'll just look at verses 10 to 17. So looking at verse 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha Suchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmanah natyutshitam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram taitra kagramanah kritva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye samam kaya shiro grivam धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिर्ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत् मत्परः. Text 15. युञ्जनेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः Shantim nirvana paramam matsangsthamadhigacchati. 16. Nati yashnatastu yogosti na chaikantamanashnataha na chati swapna shilasya jagrato naiva charjuna yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmashu yukta swapnavabodhasya Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Text 10. Just a second. Okay, text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relation with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Now this is practice at Yoga Rulaha stage. the advanced stage. So first Krishna talks about practice at advanced stage, and from the next verse, he will talk of practice at the lower stages. So here we have an exercise now, we'll just do a discussion. It's mentioned in this verse, a yogi should live in a secluded place, alone. And that's what we understand people would do traditionally, go to the forest on the bank of a river, make a hermitage and then live there, or go and spend time in the caves in Himalayas. So they would spend their life like that, living alone. Now, what are the ways in which a bhakti yogi, devotee, can follow this principle practically of living alone in a secluded place? The details will not be the same. So the answer to this question cannot be that you start a temple in a cave, right? Or you open a temple on the banks of the river in a forest. How am I going to practically apply the principle of being alone? And why is it important? Neha Mataji.
Prabhuji practice Brahmacharya.
No, that's not the meaning here of living in a secluded place.
Prabhuji, thinking of God.
No. Okay, practice internal detachment. Mahesh Prabhu.
Yeah, whether we are in crowd or whether we are alone, that time also the bhakti yogi, he feels that he is always connected with the Lord. That is how he secludes himself. No other things touch him other than Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Okay. So basically you're saying connection with the Supreme Lord makes that person, though surrounded by a crowd, alone in that sense.
Yes, please.
Okay. Hanit Mataji.
Prabhuji, does it matter like in terms of what association we keep? When you are in a crowd, you get associated with people who are associated with Krishna, and that's how you are, kind of shielding yourself from people who are not on that path.
Okay, fine. So good. So if someone said that because you're connected to Krishna, you're alone, that's the correct point. Now here we are saying Krishna conscious association also means protection from unwanted association. That's also living alone. In one sense, yes, true. Rajat Prabhu.
By chanting, Prabhuji.
Well, that's a different. And we are not talking about, of something which has a very indirect or a far relationship with the subject. Of course, chanting is the answer to any question, right? But something really, really practical or instant or immediate. Shureka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as we say Sangha Tyaga, we should give up the thoughts of a person who is not a devotee, not physically giving him up.
Fine. So giving a bad association, even in the mind, living alone. Okay, Sheshwari Mataji.
Association is very important when it comes to advancing in your spiritual life. So that is, you cannot.
Living alone basically means being in the right association and giving up the wrong association. That's what you want to say? Or a devotee should not think of living alone. That's what you're trying to say.
No, I'm saying devotee should not live alone. It should always be in the association of other devotees.
Very good. All right, fine. That is true. David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace, please accept my humble obeisances. I think a devotee living, it answers to me. For instance, before you become a devotee, maybe you have different type of friends which you do different things together, which is not allowing Krishna consciousness. So in that particular moment, when you become a devotee, you have to try to live alone, not as alone, but all these activities, you have to separate yourself from them.
Okay, good. Correct point. Yes. Those who are not doing or Krishna conscious activities, you have to keep distance from them. That's living alone. What is the purpose of living alone for an Ashtanga yogi? There has to be a purpose. What is the purpose?
To keep the mind in control.
Okay, yes. Something else more simpler?
Spiritual advancement.
Fine. Okay.
Avoid distractions.
Meditate on the Lord.
Yeah,
To avoid external distraction.
Very good. Yeah, to avoid distractions. Living alone means to avoid distractions. When you have people will disturb you, right? People will want to spend time with you, talk to you, right? Interfere in what you are trying to do, right? So there'll be distraction. So that's the purpose of being alone. Stay away from distraction. Stay away from people means stay away from distraction.
Prabhuji, it's also objects, no, other than people. Even objects other than people.
Well, when you say living alone, yes. For someone who has many things at home and that person leaves all that and goes to the forest, then it means giving up those objects. But you can't avoid objects in a forest also. You see trees and leaves and stones. Those are also objects. Correct. Just that is not my property or not in my possession. But there are objects around me. So when we say people, it's basically staying away from distraction, because people will distract us. Create an obstacle. Yes, Kavya Mataji.
How to be away from the wrong association? Because in few situations,
we will talk about that later. Okay, we'll come to this.
Okay.
So now we understood the importance of being alone. It's necessary to be alone for an Ashtanga yogi. Very much necessary. For a devotee also, yes. It's. I mean, we also have to avoid distractions, right? Not that we don't have to avoid distractions. So we have to also have this principle in our life. So how do we practice the living alone or detaching ourselves from the distractions around? Is like some of you said correctly, you choose the right association, be in that association, so that association is not distracting you from the goal. What is right association? Right association doesn't mean that, I mean, perfectly speaking, if the devotee is perfect, then definitely Vaishnava Sangha, Sadhu Sangha is the best association. But even if someone is not really a perfect devotee, then too much of association of that person may also not be the right thing to do. So the purpose behind association should be, will that facilitate my achieving the goal? Or will that become a distraction? If yes, then that association also has to be minimized or given up. So being alone for a devotee is a principle which a devotee understands, that although I am surrounded by a crowd, and that crowd can be my family members, that crowd can be the community members in the temple, that crowd can be for a guru, his or her disciples, for disciples, the God family, that can be the crowd, the Sangha of devotees. While we are in the crowd, we should not forget the point that this journey which we are taking, we have to cross it over. We have to walk on this very much alone, right? And in times when you need help, not all those who are around you will be able to help you. So I have to, at that moment, depend very much on Krishna, on the holy name, right? So we cultivate that attitude that though I am surrounded by many, actually I am alone. That attitude, that psychological gap has to be created. Though we may be with people, but we have to make that gap. That though I am with so many, I am actually alone, right? And for that sake, out of our 24 hours, when we are awake, we must have some time when we are also not surrounded by other devotees. And that time can be 15 minutes, can be half an hour, can be 45 minutes, where you very closely observe yourself, introspect, right? And go into that inner world, be alone, and observe. When we are surrounded by people, many a times that external noise doesn't allow us to hear the internal voice. Right? So we have to go away from that distraction to actually connect deeply with the inner voice. And so that we can hear the proper instructions coming from inside. What am I doing wrong in my Krishna consciousness? Right? Why am I so slow? What mistake did I do? What offense did I commit? What is the next step? So we do that, but we don't really, go to live in a cave or next to a river in the forest. We don't do that. Not external seclusion, but actually internally cultivating that mood. Fine. Best is to be always in association of devotees for a devotee, but in the association also having this attitude. Okay, basic practices. Next verse. What are the big practices for Ashtanga yogi? Initial level. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So what's mentioned? Go to a sacred place. Prabhupada elaborates on that. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage like Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, Haridwar in India, right? Or on the banks of rivers like Yamuna and Ganga. There's a beautiful lecture in which he further speaks on this subject. Okay. Sita Mataji, would you like to read?
The asana, the sitting place, should not be changed. And how should the sitting place be selected? Na ati uchritam, not too much raised, nor too low. And kailajina kushutaram. Kaila means a cotton sitting place. Then deerskin. Yogis sit on either the skin of a tiger or the skin of a deer. Why? Because they're in a secluded place and these skins have some chemical effect. If you sit on a deer skin, then the reptiles and snakes won't disturb you.
Okay. So when there is C in Sanskrit, you pronounce that as cha, not ka. So it will be chailajina kushotaram. Okay. So now we understand the reason why deer skin and tiger skin, they keep reptiles and snakes away. Otherwise, you'll be always in fear. When will the snake come and bite me? Right? You can't close your eyes. You're always worried about that. So it keeps reptiles and snakes away. And they don't kill tiger to use the tiger skin. They don't kill the deer to use the deer skin. They use it from a dead tiger already or a dead deer. They use from there. So there's some advices given here on meditation. So we should also take the principles from here. Asana, sitting place. When you chant, it's nice to have one place where you sit and chant, if possible, right? And not sit on another seat and chant. It's better to just sit on one place and chant. Even in the house, you can have one particular sofa or chair or asana. Sit on that only and chant. And next we have, someone can read this also. Who would like to read this? Yes, Kavya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Goal of yoga. The ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi according to Bhagavad-gita. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into the void, which is only a myth. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. Purport 6.15.
All right. I think I skipped 2 verses. So we take to that also. 6.13 and 14. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So these 2 verses are continuation of previous 2, where one is practicing Ashtanga Yoga. And what Kavya Mataji just read was the text from the next verse 15, which was about the goal of yoga. Thus, practicing control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Okay. So, till now in Gita, we have discussed 3 paths: the path of karma, the path of jnana, and the path of yoga. We have not really discussed much the path of bhakti. Krishna has not discussed it. Of course, Prabhupada has discussed it in the purport, but Krishna has not discussed the path of bhakti yoga yet. The 3 paths, karma, jnana, and yoga, they have some flaws, and because of which the practitioner faces a lot of difficulties in moving forward. Like the path of karma, the flaw in path of karma is, whether it's karma kanda or sakam karma yoga, one can easily become attached to the fruits of one's work. Right? I did it, so I own the result. There are a lot more chances to become attached to the fruits of one's work. And the path of jnana, the flaw is, because of so much of knowledge, one develops this desire that I want to either merge into Brahman, or one is always simply thinking of freedom from anxiety and service. One doesn't want to take pain in life, which is a problem. When it comes to bhakti yoga, serving Krishna, we may have to accept some pain. So in the path of jnana, people become very lazy. They don't want to take any trouble, anxiety. They want a very easygoing spiritual life. That's the path of jnana. And then yoga, one tends to desire mystic siddhi so that one becomes powerful and can even override the laws of material nature. These are the flaws on these 3 paths. That's why Krishna advocates in Gita, the best path is the path of bhakti yoga, which is free from these flaws. Next 2 verses, some obstacles on path of yoga. Now these are very practical instructions. Text 16. Nati ashnatastu yogosti na chaikantamanashnataha na chadi swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjana. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Snehal Mataji.
Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple food stuff is considered to be in the mood of goodness according to the Bhagavad-gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Gunjate tava agam papa 𝗪𝗶𝗇 pachanti atmakaranat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours, one of 12, 24, is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. Yeah. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga.
So,
thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Next verse. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmashu yukta sapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, ahar, sleeping, which is swapna, recreation, vihar, and work, cheshtasya karmasu, can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. One who just follows these 4 things will actually be also very happy materially speaking, because the body will be healthy, the mind will be sound, the intelligence will be clear, right? And one can experience the happiness of material life just by following these simple rules or simple advices given here by Krishna to Arjuna. Balance in our activities, daily activities, what we perform, right? So, Rekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Babaji. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad-gita 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept foods not meant for human consumption or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in discharging of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. 𝗪𝗶 kalatvam. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Prabhupada Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakura Haridas would not even accept prasadam, not even sleep for a moment, without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Very good.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So now what we'll do is a final exercise to end with. You have read the purpose of these two verses, 6.16 and 17. And Srila Prabhupada has given some practical clues on how we can apply these two verses in our life. But we want you to discuss with your group members that how you will be practically applying these principles of regulation in your life. So we'll make 8 groups. 2 groups have to discuss with their group members on the topic of eating. 2 have to discuss on the topic of sleeping. 2 have to discuss on the topic of recreation. And 2 have to discuss on the topic of work. So total 8 groups, right? So first 2 groups, first topic, second 2 groups, next, third, next, and last 2 groups, topic number 4, work. So you have to first of all understand amongst your group, what do you mean by regulation in eating and how do you achieve that regulation? Same thing, what do you mean by regulation in sleeping and how do you achieve that? What is meant by regulation in recreation? What kinds of recreations are allowed and how do you achieve that, right? And what is meant by regulation in work and how do you achieve that? So it has to be a more practical, discussion should be more practical in terms of bringing out points which we can apply in life, not just from the philosophy which Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport. So I'm making the groups, as we have already explained to you many times before. Choose a group leader who will be monitoring the group activities, and then that group leader can present at the end. Right? So we'll have 8 group leaders. Quickly do it. It should not take much time. I'll give only 3 minutes for you to discuss and finish up. We don't have much time left. So 8 groups we are making, and we are giving you 3 minutes, or maybe we can give you 4 minutes. Okay, we hope you are done. We had a nice discussion. So first we'll start with group 1, then group 2, likewise 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those who are group leaders can raise their hands up. 5, 6. Okay, 6 group leaders. I think there should be 8. I suppose there should be 8. Okay, 7. One more missing. 8th group. What about the 8th group? Okay, Vandana Mataji. Fine. So please try to be quick. Just mention the points. No need to elaborate on that. You can mention the points in a way that they are self-explanatory. And I'll jot down the points on the white screen. So we start with Harnit Mataji. Eating.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
One.
So Prabhuji.
Yours is group 1?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
So Prabhuji, regulation in eating means that we follow all the regulative principles which have been given to us as far as our diet is concerned. So which is obviously only vegetarian food, and within vegetarian, what to avoid, all those. That's the first point. Now, how do we practically do it is that we ensure that we are having food which is in balanced quantity with a balanced taste, which is fresh, which is prasadam, and which is had at a very scheduled time. Now, a very practical point that we discussed was that we should avoid eating at a non-devotee's house if we've been called to eat outside. As far as possible, eat either at home or at the temple or at the place where prasadam is served. But now there could be, circumstances where eating at a non-devotee's house might be unavoidable. And how do we handle that is, first of all, of course, we have to ensure that the food is only vegetarian food and within the regulative principles. And we can ourselves offer it to Krishna and make it prasadam before we eat. So that is one point that we discussed as far as practical application is concerned.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, group 2, whoever is representing that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am representing group number 2. So almost all the points Mataji has already covered. One more important point which we discussed as a team is fasting is very much important. It is important for body as well as for the mind.
Okay, good. Regulation includes fasting. Okay, anything else? So you discussed all these points. Fine, good, nice. We will try to cover up the remaining ones later. Okay, group numbers. I'll remove this. No, I did not remove the screen. Let's continue here. Group 3, sleeping.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am representing group 3. So our topic was sleeping. So we all agreed that 6 hours of sleep is ample, so as to give us enough time for our devotional practice. And because our devotee's life starts with Mangal Arati, which is at 4:30, so we need to get up at 3:30 in the morning. So it is required that we go early to bed. So based on what the devotee is doing, he can plan going to sleep, but by 10:30 latest, he should go to sleep. That will give him at least 5 hours of sleep continuous in the night. And if required, he can sleep for 1 hour in the afternoon when the break period is there for the temple. Otherwise, those devotees who are able to manage early sleep, they can have a 10 to 15 minutes of power nap in the afternoon for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good points. Thank you. Group 4.
Probably, we're sorry, but the thing is that we thought that for group 4, it is for sleeping one is the discussion, but we have some extra point that we would like to add, which is not there, which we have not discussed. So first point I would like to discuss about the sleeping from our group. It is that sleeping mode is a tamasic mode. So it means that it is a mode of ignorance. So, and also it is a circadian rhythm. We need to be synchronized with the circadian rhythm. That means the natural sleep cycle. In the scientific term, it is called that. And also, we need to do the regulated sleep, waking up and sleeping also.
That's clear. How do you do it practical? That's what we are trying to ask you.
Okay, and it is this sleeping mode is related to the eating habits also. If we eat the tamasic food, we will be sleeping more. So this is correlated also, and since it will hinder our bhakti practice.
You could have also come up with many other practical points, which is light dinner, yeah, like Navdini Mataji said. Very good point. Not eat, late at night and eat very heavy food at night. Light dinner, or if possible, just take milk at night and finish your dinner before sunset. So those are practical instructions. Sleeping, right? Okay, in group now I'll erase the screen and go to the new one. Group 5.
Krishna Prabhuji, I am representing group 5 and our topic is sleeping. Sorry, recreation.
Yeah.
Our topic is recreation. So there are many means to recreate in material life, such as we need to have parties on weekends. So rather going in tamasic type of parties, we can go to temple parties where Sankirtan programs are there. Secondly,
TV. Sankirtan party.
Yes, Prabhuji. TV watching is a main mean of recreation today, and rather to watch same material things on TV, we can hear lectures of Prabhupada on YouTube, or there are many other activities of temples on YouTube. We can watch those
videos. So many videos, right? To watch.
In vacations, we want to visit the different places. We can go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, rather to go to Mussoorie or Manali, etc. If we are fond of reading, as I am fond of reading, and I was very much fond of Chetan Bhagat's magazine books. So we should read Prabhupada's books, or we should read Bhagavad-gita and all these books, rather to study those books, read those books. Next point we discussed is if we want to hear something pleasant, rather doing gossips with the neighboring people and all, we can sing bhajans of Krishna and Srimati Radharani, and intimacy between husband and wife is actually a strong mode of recreation in our lives. This we should avoid if we have already children. Intimacy should not be with the feeling of sense gratification. Only we should have that intimacy to have Krishna conscious children. If we have already children, as many we want, we should have control on these urges.
Thank you, Mataji. Next group, group 6, recreation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in our group, we have discussed about Sravana, Kirtana, and dancing as the part of recreation. Sravana means Harinam Sankirtan, listening to that, and Kirtana, singing the Harinam Sankirtan, and dancing means dancing along with the Harinam Sankirtan.
All right, fine, thank you. So Srila Vishwanatha Thakur, he adds something to it. He says for a Vaishnava, what you all said is fine, that is also recreation. But he said for a devotee, a sadhu, the easiest way to relax the mind is to do. Walking.
Yes, walking was also there.
That's the recreation for a.
Yes.
Prabhuji, can you repeat, Prabhuji?
Walking. Walk. So whenever you find the mind is a little heavy, you are feeling that stress, you start walking. You walk in the nature. Just walk alone. That's also recreation. That lightens up the mind. Okay, that's why sadhus, they like to walk. They like to walk. You have any problem with the mind, just walk. You'll find that the mind will release all those heaviness. It will become light. Okay, so that's recreation for a devotee. And then now last, group 7, work.
Hare Krishna. I'm representing group 7. We were discussing about work, how to regulate work. One way is to avoid that work that is not in accordance with 4 regulative principles or don't support them.
Yes, next one.
Also, we should stick to Krishna conscious activities.
Yeah, you can go on.
Okay. Also, we should not be workaholic and work too much. We will not have enough. We will not have sufficient time for devotional activities.
Yeah.
And also, practical ways to achieve that is to have a very good time management. Also, to be aware and conscious of our activities and cut everything that is not necessary. And it's not on our priority list. And another thing is to have discipline and stick to the important activities.
Very
That's
good.
my point.
So it's the last group number 8.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
We discussed about whatever work we do it for Krishna and not accept the results of the work. We give 100% and leave the results up to Krishna. Then the second point, we discussed how we do that practically. We attend morning programs like Mangala Aarti, Tulsi Aarti, Guru Puja, followed by our daily work like job or reading, writing, or self-study. So again, the Mataji covered the point that work for maintenance in discharging our duties, that is Krishna conscious activities. And another point we discussed that to do these activities, sleeping regulations help us to work in a better manner, that getting up in Brahma Muhurta and 2 hours before is recommended. Sleeping on time is important.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very good. So wonderful points. I hope the others who are members of other groups got benefited by the work of these groups who took the points. Thank you so much. Now, many more things can be added to it. Can you all please put your microphone on mute? So many more things can be added to it, but we don't have time. So we'll now go to the next section of questions and answers. Yes. Any questions for today's topic? I'll take only 1 or 2 questions because we are already over time. 3:02, it is 3:02 p.m. Or before we do questions, because some of you will start escaping from the class, it's time up, right? So we'll do a quick poll, which is important for me to understand where you are situated in the course. So give me just 1 minute to complete this poll. You are able to see the poll? Yes, I think you are able to see the poll. So there are 4 questions and I want you to honestly answer them so that I get an idea of how you are situated in the course.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this is Surekha. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask a question from essay type questions.
Wait a second. Can you please complete the poll, Madhaji, first, and then I'll take the question.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, for those who are doing without certificate, you have only one essay to do. So you choose for one, right? Those who are doing otherwise, they have two essays to do. So as per your group, you answer these questions. Okay, some of you have still not answered. Please quickly answer. Okay, 38 people participated. All right, so I'll just see on the basis of that. Someone is not able to do reading assignment at all. That's very bad. Please do the reading assignments. 3 mentioned they are not able to read at all. So do take out time because we don't cover everything in the course. So you must read either before the class or after the class. It won't take much time. Maybe half an hour, 45 minutes should be sufficient. So please read. Essays, okay. 0, 14 people have not yet started. And CBA, I assume that you are applying for certificate and you are doing the CBA. Some of them not doing it. You don't have to do because you are non-certificate. And shloka memorization also, some people not yet started. I hope this is from the other group. Okay, so fine, I get some picture from this. I request you to kindly get a little serious. We have only 2 weeks left for the exams, for those who are giving exams. And for others, also you have to complete the essay. So you make sure you are on it. Okay, now you can give your questions. Questions for today.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, do we without certificate also submit the essay to you?
I'll not correct Mataji.
Then,
Means you have only one essay to submit, not 2 essays.
yeah,
That
exactly.
one
But
essay, yeah, of course, I'll correct that one essay which you'll submit.
one you'll submit, correct.
For you, it's one, right? So you just submit that one. Yeah, Surekha Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have asked a question in the question box.
Oh, you have asked another question, huh? So question is that chanting while walking, is it okay? Okay, chanting while walking, is it okay? Is it necessary to sit in a secluded place and chant? If you can sit and chant without sleeping, you sit and chant. If you cannot sit and chant without sleeping, then you stand and chant. If you cannot sleep, if you still sleep while standing, then you walk and chant. And sometimes the situation is so bad that while walking also you feel sleepy, isn't it?
Prabhuji, but that will be okay for the completing our 16 rounds, no? Or doesn't help?
Yeah, if you cannot sit and chant, then you stand and chant, no problem. Or you walk and chant. It happens, because of age, health issues, you did not sleep on time yesterday night. So you may not feel fresh to sit and chant. So you walk and chant or stand and chant. Correct? And also, sometimes it's best to be sit in a place where you can get a lot of fresh air. If you don't have fresh air, you will feel very sleepy. So even sometimes you may be thinking, I'm sitting, that's why I'm feeling sleepy. No, it may be due to lack of fresh air. So if you're in a place where there is fresh air, if you cannot sit cross-legged on the floor, you can sit on a chair, right? Sit on a chair and then chant. Fine, okay? Whatever helps to hear the holy name, that's acceptable. Sureka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in essay type questions, question number 5 is explaining of Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. We need to explain it like a ladder, or we can give its benefits and flaws of each and every part.
You see, that question is a difficult one. First of all, let me tell that. So there are many other questions which are simpler ones. Go for that. And if you want to go for this question, then you have to wait till the end of this chapter. And when we discuss yoga ladder, then you can answer that question properly.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. So you can decide then what you prefer. Mahesh Prabhu.
Yes, on secluded, I wanted to share one very famous Urdu couplet. आईने के सौ टुकड़े करके देखे, एक में भी तन्हा थे, 100 में भी अकेले है. That actually explains how a secluded person should be.
Good one. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Are you back to Saudi?
Yes, I am back. Last week only I came.
Okay, good. Fine. David Prabhu, you had a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Why were you escaping from the question?
Because I was a bit shy to ask this question, because when I was filling the forms, because it was my first time, so I put it like I want a certificate. But due to the teachings, I come to realize that why did I need a certificate? I just want to have the knowledge in the Bhakti Yoga.
No, if you can go for certificate, if you are eligible in the sense you follow all the principles, then you should go for that. It will help you in future. You know.
Oh, okay. Because in my mind, I think I need to do more, because I was thinking of after this I will do it again because this is all new to me. So sometimes I get a lot of confused.
No problem. Still, you go for certificate and you do it second time also.
Oh, okay.
If you fail, what's the harm? I mean, there's no harm, right? So you try for it. Right?
Okay.
Try for it.
Okay. And I have another question which I saw on social media, and I want to be clarified, because I think I saw a female who was giving initiation to another female, and people are talking about it, but I was confused, and I decided to ask you, is it a right thing in my mind, because I want to be clarified of this?
Yeah, it is allowed now in ISKCON.
Oh, okay.
It's officially allowed.
Because people are saying a lot of critics and so on, so I was confused. I've never seen this before, so I just wanted to be clarified so that I can get a free mind.
What to speak of you, even the demigods have not seen this before. It is something very new, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is allowed and it's okay. There's no harm in that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to by heart word-to-word translation also? I'm not asking for that, but I will also not stop you from doing that. If you can by heart word-to-word, very nice. Please by heart.
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat again?
Someone asked the question, do we need to by heart memorize word-to-word translation of the shlokas, Sanskrit shlokas? So I said, you need not, but if you can, please do. I just need the Sanskrit and the English translation. If you want to memorize word-to-word also, very nice. Will the description in Bhagavad-gita about opening the eyes slightly and concentrating on the tip of the nose help in doing japa? It doesn't help me. It may help you. Just try it out. I mean, if it helps you, it's fine. It doesn't help me. Then so much of my effort will just go on doing that, staring on the tip of the nose. And I'll forget Krishna exists, isn't it? I only think that the nose exists. So it may help somewhat. It doesn't help. It doesn't help me. So we just be normal. This process is not for us actually, right? So we take the principles. We don't take the details. Okay. See you next week. Tomorrow is Radha-Ashmi. Wish you a very happy Radha-Ashmi in advance. May Srimati Radharani bless us with devotion to Krishna.